Hello, friends and enemies of YouTube. For my last, my obsessions of the year, I'm actually going to do something completely different. Normally I talk about Hello Project and related things, which is something I'm very into, but this is my channel, and it's not specifically a Hello Project channel, so I'm going to talk about other things that I like too. I just haven't really felt the need to. Today I want to talk about something that has to do with a video game series that's near and dear to my heart that I love very much. Um, it's the Longest Journey series, which consists of The Longest Journey, Dreamfall, The Longest Journey, and Dreamfall chapters, of which only the first book is released now out of 5. Just recently released. So, that being said, there will be minor spoilers here, so if you haven't played the games and you plan to, probably should skip this video, but honestly, I'm not going to really focus on big story points. It's specifically something that's some technology that's in the game. So, interestingly, I think it's very interesting looking at especially the series as it's evolved, and comparing it to how we have things right now. It takes place in about 2200, so about 200 years, about 150 years from now, 160, 70, 80, yeah, about 200 years from now. Um, and it really, one of the biggest things is, you have this balance of magic versus technology. In order to emphasize that point a little more in the form of storytelling and symbolism, they actually chose to do the future so that they could have a higher intensive storytelling with technology versus a complete opposite with magic. If you did it in modern day, it might not have been more as effective. But the thing is, their outlook on what the future is going to be like is actually not too different from what we have right now, to be honest. I think they have some colonies out in space at some space stations not too far from here. So, I mean, it's pretty realistic, all things considered. But there's a couple of things that happen in there that are exciting and a little scary because they're actually coming true in our present day and in our new future. One of the things is what's called the wire. Basically, everything is connected to the internet, is really what it boils down to. Everything. Everybody has internet-based devices. Everything is revolving around this internet-based community, which is the wire. There's a lot of controversy within the game on how it's handled because there's a lot of negativity on it, as well as positivity that have had some very good forward strides technologically. But it's interesting because it's very much like we're doing right now. Internet's basically taking over. Everything's turning digital, and we're turning into that. With the cloud-based storage and everything's starting to turn into digital, and we're not even buying software as discs anymore. Everything is connected. Which is the concept of the wire. That's what it is. Keep in mind, this was like 2001, I think, or 2000 when The Longest Journey came out, the first game. We didn't have that, but it was the concept of everything being connected, everything being in this universal big group of things of the internet. So it's very interesting because that's essentially where we're headed now. I have my tablet, my desktop, and my phone, and all three of these things connect to each other seamlessly, and I can do a lot with all three of them together. And then this connects into the internet, which then connects to the world, which all connects to each other, and then it's just this big web, basically, just like the name World Wide Web. It is a web of connections that turns everything into each other. It's very interesting. I think it's interesting looking at then and then looking at now, about 11 to 12 years later, that's what it is. That's what we have. It's weird, and like I said, it's scary, but it's cool at the same time. Then you look at Dreamfall, which is happened in about 2007, if I'm not mistaken, 2006, 2007 when it was launched. It was on the original Xbox and PC. The big concept behind that game is exactly what the name implies, Dreamfall, which has to do with this machine called a Dream Machine. Essentially what it is this big corporation wants to release this machine, which is out in the sequel to that, Dreamfall chapters. It's actually released. Dreamfall, the first one, actually has to do with it being made and the story behind it. So what it is basically it's a machine that you hook up to yourself when you go to sleep, and you can control your dreams and what you dream and what happens in them, and etc., etc. Once again, same thing, scary because of the way it's implied. It's a very negative thing in the game, and the way it's shown is that it's another new technology, which is normal with all technology. When it first comes out, it has one intended use, and then it turns into an abuse. And then the abuse slowly disappears, and then it turns into just a standard of living. So yeah, it has a very negative connotation within the realm of the video game, which is interesting. But I mean, realistically, it would have a lot of positive applications too. You know, for sleeplessness, for example. If you can go to sleep and use that machine, which puts you to sleep, and then have a good dream, you'll wake up rested and happy. It's true, but then it's abused in the sense that it's turned into a drug. You know, people like want to go to sleep all the time because they want to have these great dreams in these fantasy worlds or these fantasy lives where they can get whatever they want, and because of how realistic it is, it just feels so real that why have reality? But how is that any different from video games? You know, that's how video games started off, and it's still a problem now with some people, but it's not as prevalent of a problem as it used to be. So I think it's interesting that it's just another form of entertainment moving forward, and it's very crazy. So, but the reason I bring that up too is Nintendo recently announced that they're working on a dream analyzing machine, which is a first step towards that goal of having something like a dream machine. And to be honest, 100% honest with you, I think that something similar to the dream machine will probably be released within the next 15 to 20 years. And it's kind of funny looking back on it, you know, by 2050, we will probably be at the same level of technology that we have at Dreamfall, for the most part. Minus the space colonization, that probably won't happen until around 2200, to be honest. But minus the space travel, like, it's insane. So I thought that was cool. It's a cool thing. It's a cool thing to think about. It's just fun to think about, kind of look back. And this applies with any sci-fi. You know, you look back at old sci-fi and kind of compare it to now. Like, look at Star Trek, for example. I watched the original series in the last few years. It was 2009 or 10 or something like that. Watch a whole original series, and it's crazy. You know, you got these little devices, these tablets basically, these slate devices, and you use them. You know, they have all their data on it. It's all touchscreen based. They got everything. They read. They do their data logs. It's voice commands, and then that's it. You know, and then we look at our slate tablets now, and lo and behold, that's exactly what we have. It's crazy. It's crazy. You know, we imagine these crazy things in our head for sci-fi, and the next thing you know, it's real. You look at the Navy, and the Navy has laser guns now. It's a thing. They have mounted laser weapons that are use, I think it's 6, if I remember what my friend told me correctly, it's 6 focused lasers into basically a cannon that shoots lasers. A focused laser that superheats things. Granted, it's limited application. You can't do it in cloudy environments, windy environments. It's very much affected by the environment, but it's there, and it's in use now in our military. That's a real thing now. You know, it's crazy. You know, we've had flying cars for a while, for example, but due to how to regulate traffic, it hasn't been implemented because we're still trying to get the infrastructure right for ground traffic. So air traffic is something that we probably won't tackle for another 30, 40, 50, maybe even 70, 80, 90 years. But it's there. The tech's there. They just need to economize it, make it practical, and get the air traffic control implemented into the infrastructure, and we're good to go. It's crazy when you look at all this. In fact, a lot of this technology does exist, but it's just hard to turn it into a public thing because it takes money. You know, initial times it's hard to do, and it's just interesting thinking about it. Like, do that. You take your favorite sci-fi series that predict the future, that are in the future, and then look back at what they predicted, and look back at where we're at. You'll be pretty surprised how much we've accomplished in such a little time. It's, like I said, it's scary how quickly we're evolving, but it's also really exciting. Me being a sci-fi guy, and me being a very tech-oriented guy, it's very exciting for me because I feel like I will get to see a lot of cool technology and new technology changes in my lifetime before I pass away that wouldn't have necessarily happened if I was born 200 years ago. You know, granted, there's always technological advancements, but I feel like the advancements in electronics specifically have been going much faster than advancements in other forms, like in the printing press or things like that. So that's where we stand, and I think it's a very fun time, and I just wanted to talk about that, looking forward, since next year is 2015, and which is the year of Back to the Future 2. which I'll talk about later in another video. So I just wanted to bring that up as the end of the year kind of looking forward thing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, put your comments up and I'll discuss. Thank you for everything, guys. Goodbye.